Watcha, mate. You got friends here again? How you doing? Who we got today? Yeah, and who's allergic to dogs? Hi guys, and welcome back to another video with KTTV. And we have the longest distance visitor that we've ever had from Melbourne, Australia, Siggy. And he's come in to visit us on his honeymoon tour. I don't know how you got away with that, mate.
Oh, mate.
You dumped her somewhere in Germany or
She's in Austria. Yeah.
Austria. Hiking in the mountains in
Yep.
Austria. So I don't know how many husbands, newly created husbands, would get away with that. You bodes well for your future marriage, mate. And we got Ivan here, who is prop manager and Alfie sitter. Again, because you're his favourite, aren't you? Yeah, you got Ivan. So today, well, first of all, let's find out from Siggy. You're from Melbourne in Australia. Tell us a little bit about Melbourne, where it is, and we got some Americans on here, so yeah, you know.
Americans.
Yeah, no. So Melbourne.
Yeah, so Australia's this big, huge, large country, and Melbourne's in basically the southeast corner. There's an island that's just further south called Tasmania.
Sure.
And
where the devil comes from.
Where the devil comes from, the Tasmanian devil. And a lot of our really nice timbers, Tasmanian blackwood and myrtle.
Yeah, I've got a lovely piece of myrtle.
Absolutely.
And so you decided for your honeymoon to do a European tour.
European tour, yeah. It was meant to be a hiking trip in the Italian Dolomites and visiting family in Germany because I'm half German.
And the other half's Indonesian, I understand.
Indonesian, that's right.
It's quite a fascinating mix.
It is an interesting mix of height and colour and everything that you see.
Yeah, it's midget like me. But we've been talking about Indonesian woods and Papua New Guinea woods and various indigenous woods to Australia, eucalypts and so on and so forth. So we had a very interesting discussion this morning. But the topic that we wanted to move on to, so you're off to Stockholm, aren't you?
Yeah, in 2 days' time after
so
the script.
if the prop manager leans behind him and grabs the saw hanging up on the wall there,
oh wow,
you just lift it and it will come off the hook. There you go. So this is the saw that's made in 1664, a copy of it, obviously, and this you'll find in the museum in Stockholm.
Wow.
Which David Lundquist went and investigated, and he traced around it. And later on, I'll give you a go of it. It's quite an amazing saw to use. In fact, it wouldn't have been this good. Because Peder out at Two Lawyers Tools, another very famous saw maker you may have heard of, Peder and Klaus. He's got the plate done by Gert Friesch in Germany, and then it was all laser cut, so hyper modern.
Absolutely.
And then he's cut and set the teeth cross cut. So it's a cross cut saw, and then he had 3 of these made. One for me. One for David Lundquist in Stockholm, in Sweden, and one for himself to keep. And David also made some tangs, which you see here, which are iron, forged iron, and I've peened them in using iron rivets. So they're hand peened and hammered. So it looks like a hammered finish.
Absolutely.
We were each given the task to make the handles each. So we've covered this in another video, which you can go and see here. And you can get some information on about that. But Siggy is going to try. I'm not sure because he's got 3 days in Stockholm.
I think at the moment we haven't booked everything yet, finalised it, but 3 days, yeah.
So are we risking a load of poo from your new bride if you say, I just want to pop into this museum? Oh, and by the way, there's a saw in there that I want to see. Because you've seen the reproduction and you'll be playing with it later on.
Yeah.
So we're on the topic of saws, and while we were talking, I'll take that off your hands because I want to give you some other saws. So we can hang that back up. I don't know whether we can. What do you think, prop manager? Oh, I don't know, mate. Oh, that was funny today. We've had some real laughs with them. What was it, Ivan? What was it you said, Siggy, that you felt like you just fallen into the set of
Guy Ritchie movie?
Oh, Guy Ritchie movie. Yeah.
Apparently we all speak like Guy Ritchie, right? That's not true, is it, mate? So that led on to talking Cockney rhyming slang and Kent English and and Medway English and all various other things. And by the time you finish, you realise that it wasn't such a thing as English anymore.
No.
And so we had some good conversations. But part of the conversations this morning, and coming on to saws, I mentioned to you that Shane Skelton was somebody that I met when he first started business, and it was jaw dropping. And you can see, as you've now had the pleasure of seeing some of our Skelton saw collection, right from the first saws up until the modern saws of 2020s. And what I thought would be a good thing today to do would be to go through the generation, give you some of the history, what I know about Shane and Jack, and basically them setting up the saw business. And that all came out of, he started to kind of make saws, and then he met us, me, Richard Arnold, Bill Carter, the Motley Crew, we call it, the Motley Crew, the guilty. Met us at a place called Mac Timbers, which is in central sort of part of England, near where Bill and Richard live. And Mike Cawthorne, who runs it, used to have an open day. And just before that, Richard found this 18th century saw in a dusty old barn. And I'm sure we can do a video with Richard on that one. And it was a very rare saw. It was made by a London saw maker called, now I'm never quite sure whether it's the Spires or Peters, but it's one of the two took over from the other one. And he gave him his entire inventory. So it's double stamped. It's stamped on one side and then the other side. So it's Squires on one side and Peters on the other side. And Shane saw this saw and said, wow, that's utterly beautiful. But because it's one of, I think, two, one is in America and Richard's got the other one. And it's the one tool that none of us would want to use because it's so fragile, so valuable. And so what Shane did is said, can I borrow it? And off he went. And so in the very early days, he created this reproduction. So we're all into reproductions at the moment, but this is the Squires Peters saw. And it's a limited edition of 25. It had a beech handle. And this is stained beech, and it's very similar to the stained beech I did for the staircase saw. It's part of that. It comes from the Duke of Buccleuch in Northamptonshire, where they had a beech tree that had to be cut down because it was in danger of falling over, and it's a public place. So it had been stained for 300 years from the iron or in the soil, which leached up through the beech. And so each of these has got this staining, which you very rarely see any figure on beech. But this is unique, and all the 25 are made of the same wood. Wow! So that was my first introduction into Skelton saws. So this has not his standard mark. It has a Jack Skelton, J Skelton on one side, and S Skelton on the other side, and basically no mark on the screw nuts, saw nuts. So it's one of a limited edition. It's one of my favorite, and I use it all the time, as could anybody that came down and visited the KT Tools Working Museum. So you can have a play with that one. So along came Shane, and he established himself as a saw maker in Scarborough, in the very north Yorkshire east of Britain, which is, they all talk funny up there. Really funny. You're getting into
what's that thing they do with, like, rolling the eggs down the hill?
Yeah, they do. They roll cheeses downhill. People look, down in Kent, we eat cheese, right? Down in Cheddar, they eat cheese. They make it, but up in North, they throw it down the side of a mountain. Go figure. Go figure. So the second saw I got, and these were all rosewood. These are all, I believe, an Indian rosewood, but or some may even be Brazilian, but I don't think so. And these have the old mark. So if I can get it on the camera, okay, this is the old, really quite large mark, and it's quite crude. Well, not crude, but it's cruder than the future marks. So this is number 6. All the saws that I have are all numbered number 6. I chose that from, these are really geeky people that will understand a TV program in the 60s called The Prisoner, where he was locked in a village, and the bouncing balls would come along, and he would go, and they took away his name and made him number 6. And it's I am a name, not a number. That's where it comes from. So Jack kindly allocated number 6 for all the saws that I bought, and they're not marked number 6 on anywhere except underneath the handle. So they're in the brass on the back plate underneath the handle, and to get them you have to basically dismantle the saw. So it's only kind of me. And you do get when you get a box with Shane's saws, you get first of all it's put in a ledger, and then that ledger details the person that bought it, where they live, i.e. America or Kent in my case, what number was allocated to the saw, and what date it was dispatched, what it was made between those dates. So it's all put in a beautiful ledger, so that historically it will in the future be, you could say, well, I've got number so-and-so saw, and then you could look back in the ledger and say, well, that would belong to Jim Hendricks in Kent, and it was sold on to so-and-so. So there's a provenance to each and every saw. So there's a reason why these are so valuable. I mean, they are. What's your opinion about the quality? You were talking to Ivan earlier. Give us some views, Ivan. What was your comment
about how nice it fits your hand?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just feels right, and the weight of it, beautiful.
And it's just the detailing. It's just the final touches. The fit and finish.
It is.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, I love it.
Given the amount of sort of handwork in it feels almost like it's
just perfect in your hand.
But I mean the fit and finish is almost like it's been machined, although it's fitted by hand. That's what sort of blows me away.
Well, if you go on Instagram, you can see one saw being made, and Shane actually carves all of this by hand, cuts it out from a template, and then has a series of processes of carving to different levels of progression, and then finishing with different papers and so on and so forth.
Yep.
On that subject, I don't know if you guys know, but his Instagram account is now changed, and I will be putting for everybody a link to the new Instagram account, which he's building up with his daughter Sophie. Circumstances have changed with Shane and Jack, but the fact is that he's very much still in business. There's still a big backlog of orders it does take a while to get one of these, so you have to wait. And I always think that if you have to wait for something, then it's obviously worth waiting, because the demand's fantastic. So unlike a saw that you can just get off the shelf, however expensive, you basically order one of these saws. So when I got the second saw, I said to him, I want them to be left-handed. Now, the only reason they're left-handed is because this is an early peacock in here. This is where peacock oil comes from. It is their coat of arms of the Skelton family. Oh, right. So they have a heraldic coat of arms of a peacock in a holding. I can't remember what leaves. I think it's an oak leaf cluster with acorns.
Yep.
And so that's where peacock oil comes from, not
right. I thought he just had
peacocks. No,
I thought he had just had a thing for peacocks.
No, he doesn't have just a thing for.
Okay.
So these again, the old mark. This is a tenon saw of an ordinary type of tenon saw. Yep. And then later on, we got a sash saw. So to feel the weight of that, I mean, you were saying, wow. Yeah.
I have a saw of this size from another sort of boutique saw maker from the US, but this is probably another
bad axe, is it?
It is. Indeed.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that guy's a genius as well.
It is, and it cuts well.
Mr. Horrell. Yeah.
There's no work required to cut a piece of wood with that.
Well, the thing is, when you look at this, it's just the fit and finish is just, it's like a Savile Row suit.
Yes.
Like that's literally what it is.
That's a good analogy. Yes, exactly.
And I mean, I've never had a Savile Row suit, but that's sort of what you'd expect. I mean, every little you could like look at this under a microscope at every little corner and everything. And I mean, I'm always, the first thing I look at is how straight it is, and everything is just crisp. The height of each tooth is everything is clocked perfectly. Like the orientation of the grain, it's almost like Shane's put the template there and spent literally a few minutes just looking at it, going,
Yeah, that's exactly
"Yeah, is
what
that
it
right?
does.
Is that right?" Like,
And the Savile Row suit analogy is a very a good one, because he will call you, Jack will call you up, or Shane and Sophie will call you up and say to you, "Are you left-handed? Can you send me a photocopy of your hand?"
yep,
And you put, you get your hand photocopied or scan,
yep.
send it up, and the hand will be sized to fit you.
And I mean, this feels awesome to me, but you've got different hands, and it probably feels even better
if you're custom fit.
Absolutely.
The particular things I like are the nuances of the crispness of the lamb's tongue here. It's absolutely, it's just thin, but it's not thin. If you put your fingers there to measure it, that's a quarter of an inch plus.
Yeah.
Right, but it looks thin because it's been been contoured. The same as I did with my my boxwood jack with jointer plane, which I'll show you later. So that was a sash one, and then I went a bit bonkers one year. I used to get one of these per Christmas because everybody had to donate their Christmas money to me. So instead of getting any socks, I've got holes in every one of my socks because nobody buys me bloody socks or aftershave. So I've got no aftershave. That's why I stink. And I've got no
That's
socks.
why I've been sitting like this.
Socks, so I've got holes in them all the time. So this is a ripsaw, and it's of the pattern from the seat and chest, which is just almost near where Ivan lives, over just beyond Ivan in Rochester Castle, which I understand is also now housing the bog oak table, which we talked about, the one from Norfolk. So this is rip cut 5 TPI, and wrong way. So it is an absolute gem. I mean, it's a Kenyan pattern. So that was in the seat and chest, and Shane got some drawings and some detailed plans, and he always makes up the drawings for it and checks and double checks. He's currently making Chippendale saws, for instance, one that Chippendale would have used, and that's all checked by things like, and I'll tell you this story, he went to Harefield House, which is Chippendale's like museum, if you like, up near them, up near Scarborough. And he went in there and he asked the curator to go and look at the drawers. So he pulled out the drawers, and where the witness marks are, where the dovetails have been overcut, which you wouldn't see in a normal museum. So he's actually taken this Chippendale piece of furniture, taken the drawer out and looked and measured the width of the kerf that is overshot in order to make sure that the panel was replicated. Yeah. So it goes to that much. I mean, most people would call it
that's obsessive.
Anal.
Yeah.
But the result of that is you've got an absolute exact copy of what Chippendale would have used. So when you're using that saw, you end up by having a saw that Chippendale would have used. It's not just a look-alike.
No,
it's an actual.
It's better
driver-like as well.
Yeah.
So this drives and it's all hollow ground to give it clearance for the kerf. So it tapers to the top and then to the back. And
it's dead straight.
Yeah, it's dead straight. And I've used this to cut a huge tree trunk, so I could quarter saw some beech out of a trunk that was cut for me by a local farmer. Cut it down with a chainsaw, delivered it here, and I cut it with that. I made jointer size blocks of quarter sawn beech out of it using just that saw.
That's
and it just rips through it like it's butter. An amazing saw. And I haven't had it sharpened yet, and I don't think I need to just yet. But one of the things Shane said, well, if you need it sharpened, just send it back up and I'll whip it through the sharpener and send it back to you. It's not a problem. But and this has a similar mark on it. It has a Skelton saw mark on it, but this was specifically made for the same sort of mark that would have been on the original. So it comes in its own box, which we took out, which gave it some airing.
Yep.
We'll be playing with that later on. And they all come with saw protectors, saw teeth protectors. And they've got to be put on that way round so that they don't catch on the teeth, like that. So we'll put that back over here. And then just to finish off, there's a couple. I mentioned the Chippendale. This is a London long stroke, which would have been a traditional saw. It is a sort of medium between a dovetail and a tenon saw, but it's a long stroke. So for cabinet work, it is a beautiful, beautiful saw, and it's one of Shane's favourite, one of the most popular that he gets asked for. You notice all these are coated in Alfie Shine. Gives it, because Alfie Shine protects metal as well as the wood. So yeah, I got that in there, didn't I? So that's the long stroke, but effectively it's I got it because I was at the time trying to get one of every number 6 saws, and then it got to the point where it was so prolific that I couldn't afford to buy every one. So some of them I haven't got. There's little ones that I used to get, like this curving saw. You start the curve out. It's a very fine saw.
Okay.
And as a flush saw, it's got no set, so it's excellent for flush flush cutting, doweling, that sort of stuff, without damaging the surrounding wood with the set on it. And that's beautifully, again, all clocked and beautifully, just little nuances, you know.
And this one, by comparison, is featherweight.
Yeah.
That's like you get into any position.
And you start the curve on, say, the rip saw with that. Yeah. And then that gives you curve guidance for when you start on it. Because one of the most difficult things is starting the curve and getting the angle straight, ready to cut down through the rip. So that was it was just a luxury, really. I don't ever use it, really, to be honest. I just take it slowly. But yeah.
But it's given the amount of flex that it has in the blade.
It's not.
It's
not
dead
bent.
straight.
Yeah.
That's what's just
he
insane.
uses the very highest quality steels when he doesn't compromise on steel quality. So they're the very top saw making steel that you can buy.
And what's also crazy is that slit where he's set the blade in is perfectly straight with respect to the entire length of the handle. So if you sort of find the center of the rear here and you look at the very tip of a saw, it is a dead straight line.
Yeah.
Which
there's a reason why the saws are, people complain, well, I can't afford that. To be honest with you, I couldn't afford them. But I, found a way to get the money together that, it was 4 or 5 or 6 people contributing, their whole one or two of the saws, it took me Christmas and birthday money to get enough all joining together.
Absolutely.
But now they're priceless, really, and they're great. They're a great part of the museum. Under guidance, we let people use them, and you can play with them as much as you want. We're not precious here with regards to artifacts. They're not kept as a collector item. They're not kept as behind glass, and they're used like the tools they were meant to be. I truly believe that, like classic cars, they need to be driven to be kept in good condition. And that applies to saws. If you put a saw away, the horror when I went to see the seat and chest was that all of the hollows and rounds were bananas because they'd not been taken out. They've been kept in a dry environment. They've warped, and they're going hot and cold in a loft. Not much you can do. They are a historical record, but sadly, they're very badly damaged beyond words. And there were 2 saws I wanted to show you. You mentioned that you were, now this is the point, you see, you were looking for a gentleman jack saw, contemplating buying it yourself.
Correct, yeah.
And so you can have a go of one.
Which is awesome.
And so, by coming here, you get to play with it, you get to use it, try it out. It might not be that you might want an archer saw instead, which is a lot more thinner. It's more, it's probably different balance to it. This was a gift from Shane one Christmas because he didn't want to separate the two. This again is boxwood that's figured from fungal infections and stuff like that. But these are exactly the same wood. There was one piece of wood. He had one piece left over. So he said, I'm not separating these 2 bits of wood. I'll make another one for Jim. So he's making a batch of archer saws and just gave this to me, which for the museum. So again, we get quite a lot of people just very generously donating. So it belongs to the museum, and you can try both of them. Beautiful. And you might change your mind. This actually, I used the end. If you look, it's a non-symmetrical octagonal end. And each of these segments goes round and meets an exact point that's exactly in that line. And little details like where it's inset there is an arrow. Yeah. So this is why it's the archer saw. And there's the bow just here. The Cupid's bow on the saw. And every single part about it, like even the curved beveling, instead of just, and that's on both of
That
them.
has it too.
And that's typical to these little gentleman's saws. So, you know, I've never ever contemplated buying a gentleman's saw before, but I've used these for very small, very delicate work. So today, as part of your visit, you know, before you go, definitely have a try out on these.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you see them on the internet, and you see, I've seen Bill Carter using these, and I've never met Bill, but I've heard he's a giant of a guy.
Yeah.
And so proportionally, when I think of a saw and I'm just gauging off photos or videos, I'm trying to imagine how big is it, how heavy is it? But because you can just come here and use it, give it a test drive, so to speak, it's a lot more valuable. And this actually does feel differently to what I had originally thought. So like you said, I might actually order
the
one of
Archer
those.
saw is more, I don't know, swap them over. I'll let you have that, play with that one. And it's a different balance completely.
Totally.
They're both very beautifully balanced, but the idea is that you really want to be able to try these out. And Shane's quite away, almost in Scotland in terms of distance. So by coming here, you've got originals, and you can try them both out, and then make the correct decision on purchase, because these are not they're not an impulse buy.
No.
And you certainly would have to wait for one. But you can choose to select your wood you want. You can have bronze or brass here, and so on and so forth. So you can customize it not only in the size, but also in the woods and the materials used. So so Shane is going to carry on making saws, thankfully, for hopefully a very long time. And he's being ably assisted by his older daughter, who's now 20. I mean, when I first met her, she was, quite a tall.
She's probably taller than me.
She was taller than both of us, trust me. But so she's going to be doing the orders and stuff like that, and existing orders are going to be fulfilled, and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of a hiccup at the moment, but that's fine with everything. And go join Shane's new Instagram account. As I say, I'll put the link in the and any future new websites and so on and so forth, that will also be promoted through my channel on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. So that's the story of Shane. Let's go right from the very start. You can come here and use one of the very first saws. It was the first batch. It was number 6 of the first batch. Anything from ripping a piece of oak to delicately cutting a piece of boxwood using one of these tiny little gentleman's saws. So that's it for today, folks. So you're on your way now, aren't you? We've just he's on a flying visit. All these people just pop in and pop out as if it's round the corner, but it's Melbourne. I mean, where's that sort of couple 100 miles, isn't it, at least?
So it took about to get to Europe. It was 30 hours worth of travel.
Wow. So you're still down there, though, aren't you? Still down below, down under.
Down under, yeah, just under these floorboards.
Down there. Keep digging, Jimmy, keep digging. So you're off to Stockholm, to reunite with your bride.
I am, yeah.
And Ivan popped in. Unfortunately, Phil Smith was going to come down, but he went down with COVID. So the gentleman was very nice and decided not to give it to me or you, because I can't imagine the rest of your honeymoon with COVID. And both myself and Ivan are a bit compromised, shall we say, aren't we, medically? Ivan's you're off to get some operation this week, which we're gonna facilitate. I think he'll be all right. He'll be all right in a local hospital.
I'll be all right if we use one of these.
Yeah, we can do an operation. Thank you, guys, and we'll leave you with Alfie asleep, and see you next week. Take care.